Hello everyone, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. Give it a house shift. How's everybody doing? Doing okay. So we are at part 3 of the Santos doll of who knows how the hell many parts. Plenty, you know, because I can't ever do anything quickly. So this one I really liked how these came out. I liked it so much that I made that the thumbnail. As opposed to the thumbnail with the doll in it. But this is the part where we're going to make the wings. So we're going to construct the wings out of wire, jewelry wire, and book page, and I think they come out really cool. So you won't see the same ending that you see in the picture because that's in the second part when we're doing some other stuff to it. Because of course, you know, good luck finding a video where I'm making anything where I don't screw something up. But most of those screw-ups actually turn out really cool, and this one does, which you'll see in the next part. But anyway, so let's get to it and play with some wings. All right, and now we can look at one of the ideas I had. Of course, while everything's drying, that's when I have all my ideas. If you remember, there was a page in the scrapbook collection, the Stamperia Lady Vagabond one. And it had this book, and it had these books down here. And I thought, you know, I wonder how those would look in here, kind of sitting. So I went ahead and cut them out. And the cool thing is that it's double-sided, which is super awesome. Usually with scrapbook paper, that'll be on one side. You got to figure out what you're going to do to back it. This, you don't have to figure it out. So I took it and I kind of put it in here and curved it around. And I'll just kind of show you here a little bit. Because this is kind of turning into a, you know, librarian sort of a figure. So we can put the books in here like this, curved around, or on the outside. Not sure which will look better. Probably on the inside would look better. So here they are on the outside though. So that could be interesting. But bottom line is that's definitely going to need something done to it. So I've already inked the edges on here, I think. Well, maybe not. Let's say if I did a crap job of it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and ink the edges on this. So what I'm going to use to protect it, I think, is Mod Podge. Because it will kind of stiffen this up a bit, but we'll still be able to curve it around and do what we want to do with it. So we're going to coat it on both sides, and that's going to take a little bit to dry. So do this, and I want to do this from both sides because it can be potentially visible by both sides. And then I started thinking, you know, usually I like to put like wings or something on these. I've got the clear Tim Holtz ones, but I don't think those would look right. And I thought, oh, you know what I should do? So I've got those Raven ones that I did out of the air dry clay, which I think are a little too bulky and heavy for this, but they can be used for a pattern. And wouldn't it be fun to make some wings out of wire? And then for, you know, the part, the fleshy part, part that makes things fly, use book page for it. Because again, this is turning out to be kind of like a librarian sort of, you know, bibliophile kind of a thing. So that's probably what we're going to do with that. So for now, we are going to grab the Mod Podge and see, that's the difficult part because they both look like they could be really good librarians, you know. So I guess we're going to have to keep them over here with our little extra books for a few minutes. And do the Mod Podge. So I'll grab a fairly wide brush. I'm just going to coat the front, and then once the front is dry, I will coat the back. So there is the first side, and yes, it's going to curl up, and that's fine, because when we go and do the other side, it'll curl the other way. And we're going to curve it anyway, so that curl doesn't stand a chance. So we're going to let this dry, and I'll be right back with you. So I have let this dry, and I went ahead and did the other side as well. So, you know, you guys didn't have to be bored watching me paint stuff with Mod Podge again. So it's nice and dry, and it's got kind of more of a leathery feel. It's still very flexible. So we'll be able to put that in there. And then what I wanted to work on next are the wings that I want to do. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to bring out, this is one of the ones from the Finnabear mold, the bones and wings or skulls or whatever the heck it is. Anyways, I had done these, and this size-wise is a really good size to go with this. So this is what I'm going to use to make a pattern for the wings, because I want to do them in wire and cover them in book page. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so what I did was I took this and then I traced it here, and then I kind of roughly drew in, you know, about the angles where the little fingers, basically it's a bat's fingers, are, and that way I could do my wire piece. So this is the wire piece right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is this piece here, actually let me put that on this so you can see it better. Okay, so this piece here, we're going to take the book page and we're going to put it on there. We're going to glue it on and either Mod Podge or emboss. I haven't decided that. I have to experiment with the embossing to see how that's going to work. But, you know, we'll cover it with the paper, and then those will become our wings. So how did I make this? Well, here's what I did. So I use this. So this is 20 gauge copper jewelry wire. Sometimes you can get it at places like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. Usually when you see the jewelry wire there, it's going to be some kind of an aluminum sort of mix, because aluminum is very soft, right? So when you get this jewelry wire, you have some different levels of it. You have dead soft, semi-soft, and hard. Insert your own jokes here. But what it means is as you work with wire, it's going to get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. So to the point where if you overwork it, you can actually break it. So I get the dead soft because it hasn't been work hardened at all, right? The stuff that you get at the craft store is going to be super duper soft, which is great because it's, especially for, unless you're, you know, doing a lot of jewelry stuff, it's easy for you to pick up and use and get it to do what you want without too much of a headache. Jewelry wire tends to be a headache. Sterling silver is even more of a headache because it's expensive. So I always kind of am very paranoid when I work with sterling, especially if I haven't done it in a while. But so this is a 20 gauge. So 20 gauge is probably the most useful size. With wire, the lower the number, the thicker it is, right? So this is the kind of thing you would use for, say, earring wires or jump rings or different things like that. You may want to move up to a 16 for a jump ring. You know, those bracelets that have just one piece of wire and that's probably a 5 or a 3. The thicker the wire, the harder it is to work with. But the more it's going to hold its shape, right? So that's why you can have those big thick bracelets that don't warp or bend. It's because they're really, really sturdy. So 20 is probably the best one as far as being able to use it without going crazy. So one of the first things that I do when I get wire is, you know, it comes in a coil like this. I want to straighten it. So I have these are nylon pliers, and you just kind of grab it on here and you sort of pull it between the two. And that way, especially if you have any kinks in it, like I just made by doing that, it's going to pull them right out of there for you. Okay, and it gives you a nice smooth surface to start with. As you wrap with it, you're going to start putting tension into the wire, and it's going to get harder and harder to deal with, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to trace it on the back side of here because I just realized I need to flip it upside down. So I'll be right back with you. Okay. So not the best drawing, but you know, when you're holding a piece of copy paper up to the light to try to trace around it, it doesn't cooperate very good. So we are going to use this, and I can take this and, you know, I totally could have left it and flipped it over, but you know what? I don't care. Okay, so we're going to kind of have this here, and we're going to use this for it. So what I tried to figure out was what was the best way to make this, right? So the book pages can do this part here. I don't think I need to make any kind of wire piece for that. I could be wrong, but what I've done here is these are loops. So if I need to, I can kind of open that loop up a little bit and I can thread a piece of wire through there. I don't think I'm going to need to. So I'm going to have this here as a reference as well. And so I literally took it and I held it against this, and I went up to the very first shape here, okay, because I decided it'd be easiest to come this way, make this one, go this way, make this one this way, this one this way, this one, and back up, and then make this little loop up at the top to represent this kind of pointy bit here, and you know, wrap around this way and come back here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. You'll need a variety of things. Okay, I've got my wire snippers, and I have a bunch of different types of pliers. I've got the more of the needle nose pliers. I've got a flat set of pliers, and I've got a set of round pliers, because when you get to all these, you really want to make sure that those corners are nice and tight. If you're relying on just bending with your fingers, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get it to do that. So I am going to hold it against the original one here that I did, just so I can kind of get an idea of this measurement here, because I made it a little bit longer because this is what's going to attach to the back. So we'll do it like that, because we can snip it if we need to. Okay, just wanted to see how much extra did I leave. And so I kind of just held it against the drawing and tried to conform to the shape. It will bend out of shape like 50 million times. Don't even worry about it, because you can get that at the end, okay? And so then at this first juncture, that's where I take these round pliers and I can make a nice sharp corner with them, okay? So here's my nice sharp corner. And then I'm going to follow this down to see how far down I need to go with it. Okay, so I'm going to go right about here. And so I'm going to grab these again, and I'm going to bring it over this way into a loop back on itself. Okay, let's see. And I'll try to zoom in with this. It's just kind of problematic because when I do it, it loses focus on it. So, but I'll do the best I can, because I know you're going to want a close-up of this. Okay, so I've got it like this. I don't want to leave it like this. I want this nice and pointy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flat pliers, and I'm going to just kind of squish it. And it takes a bit for this, because see, I was able to do it for this part here. See, I can hold it, you can see it better that way. But when you're doing this very tip part, it's going to try to you know, work its way out of there, because this is a round wire, so it's going to slip and try to turn on you. Just get it as close as you can to that. And then I just kind of took the wire and I sort of wrapped it around. And here's where you're going to start to feel the tension, because it's going to want to fight against you when you do that. You just got to kind of keep showing it who's boss. And you can also take, once you've done that, grab this here and you can twist it from this direction, which is a lot easier. Just don't twist too much, because you're going to make it a little too short. Okay, so we have that there. And then I take my looping pliers, I believe these are, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've done jewelry, but and I just kind of bring this down to make sure that's it's nice and flat. Okay, I'll bring this up here so you can see how that's nice and flat, because we don't want to have it, you know, arcing and starting to look terrible. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm again going to try to get this, you know, into its original shape that I wanted it. And then we're going to follow it up to the next little juncture. And again, it's going to be right here. So I'm going to bend that with my fingernail and then come in with these pliers and then give it a little more of a corner. And this wire is going to be just twisting out of your hand. I cut off about, I want to say about 2 feet roughly to work with. You don't want to do too little, because of course if you run out, that's a bummer. I mean, you can kind of add to it, but it becomes a little bit of a pain. But you don't want so much that you can't work with it. If you try to leave it, say, on the spool and do this, you will want to drink bleach pretty quickly, because that tension that you're building in it is really going to start to affect it, because it has no way to work its way out. If you cut it off, it can work its way out a bit. If it's on the spool, it can't. So what you'll probably end up doing is creating a kink that you didn't see and snapping it somewhere. So just cut yourself off. Yeah, about 1.5 feet or 2. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I go down to this spot and bend it, and then bend it around with these so that it's a little tighter of a curve. And then I'm going to take these pliers here And I'm going to push it together and just do it nice and slow, because otherwise it'll go on you, especially at the top. See how it spun on me? It will do that. You just got to kind of persevere, and you'll be able to get it into this nice tight sort of hairpin turn. And then again, I'm going around here, and I'm just wrapping this back up. It's doing two things. It's building up a little bit of bulk in these, you know, and it's allowing me to come back up where I need to. And again, wrong ones. Like the flat ones for this, because I've made that flat at this point. You can take it and twist it down here to get a little bit tighter of a twist on it. Okay, so we've got two of the little prong things. So I'm going to continue this one and then I will rejoin you when I come back up here off of fast forward. But just keep putting it on your drawing and getting it lined up as best you can, and just keep on going. So we've got the basic wing shape here, and here if I hold the drawing this way, it's a little easier for me. So we've got our basic wing shape, and now we're up at this top, and so now I want to put this loop in there. So what I do is I take my, whatever the hell these are, my loop pliers. I have to look it up and find the actual name. It's not what this is. And then I'm going to kind of bend it down and around to make this loop here. Okay, see, I've got my loop going on there. And then I'm going to hold this wire down with everything else. And I'm going to come back in with the flat ones. And I'm just going to twist it a couple times. Oop. And that'll make that loop for me. Okay. And then now I'm going to continue around the rest of this upper part of this wing. And this is at least the easy part. But yeah, as the more you work with it, the more work hardened it's going to get. And that means, of course, that it's harder and harder. It's less and less flexible. So yeah, it really does just give you a massive headache after a while. So I'm just going to go down to the end. I'm not terribly worried about the end just because it'll probably get trimmed up. And it's going to be glued in. We're going to have stuff over it anyway. So, all right, so here we go. We've got this. And let's bring my little loop up here a little bit better. Okay, so now I need to do the actual shaping on this. So I'm going to hold it by that center part because it's the bulkiest. And I'm just going to do, you know, make sure you want it flat and level this way. And then you want these to kind of conform to your drawing to the point where if you laid it down, it would stay, you know. So it takes a minute to kind of get them the way you want them. And see, once I get that curve the way I want it, now I can take and I can fold this guy a little bit down. Get him pointed in the right direction. And I'll do it this way too. Seems a little bit easier with the way the tension is in the wire. Okay. You're just going to kind of work it and work it and work it until it is where you want it. And then you can take the other one and make sure they're not going to match exactly. Like, see, this one's a little bit longer here. That's fine. You know, they're going to be on opposite sides and they'll look pretty equal. Oops. I am, though, going to make sure that the curvature is pretty much the same on them for this part here, because I kind of straightened it up a bit to so when I go to attach it to the doll, it's got a little bit of a gluing surface. So put it up against here. All right, so that's more or less the same curvature. And then this one, we can just trim this end down. I'm going to do it over here by my garbage, so it's away from my face. Okay, so there we go. So now we have 2 wings made out of wire. Armatures anyway. So now we got to figure out how to get the book page on there. So I will be back with that after I go pull out some book page and get some stuff together. So I have brought out some different book pages for us to use. We've got our wings here. So I have some Irish Gaelic pages. I have some antique book pages. The nice thing about the antique book pages, they're nice and thin. And then, you know, a History of Ireland type one, that sort of thing. And then these here are from a book. It was only 1935, but the pages are very, very brittle. So these might be fun to use as well. This was done courtesy of the post office. That was very nice of them. But so I think what I'll do is take, this one has a lot of just the regular edge. So I think it'd probably be a good idea to take this and kind of wrap the wire a little bit. You know, I still want the copper to maybe show. I highly doubt it will though, but if we just put it on here flat and flat, we're going to have a weird kind of sharp edge. So this will give us a little more to grab onto it as well. And I got plenty of book pages. That's the nice thing about doing junk journals. I have oodles of book pages. So we'll kind of sit this here. These up here so you can see them. I'll move my book pages to the side just because I'm going to use some Mod Podge and it's probably going to get messy. So these, I'm going to make these a little bit smaller just so they're a little more manageable. So this is what, about 1/2 inch, I would say. And I'm going to do these probably in half because I know if I try to put Mod Podge on this big long thing, I'm going to wrap it around on itself, stick it to itself, get super frustrated. So best to prepare against that. Okay, so one of the nice things about having the glass mat is that you know, I can put things on it that are sticky and it's not gonna hurt it. I can clean it off. As a matter of fact, I cleaned it off earlier just because I had so much Mod Podge and stuff on it. It was starting to look kind of scary. So let's get the Mod Podge out. I actually have this one. This is just a regular mat and paintbrush, probably a larger one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put Mod Podge on one side, I think, and I'm just going to start wrapping it around to kind of cover this little armature, kind of like you would sort of a, I don't know, paper mache sort of thing. I'm bollocks at paper mache, so I don't really know how to do it. So let's see how this goes, and I'll be fast forwarding through most of this until I have something that you guys need to know, or, you know, I break something. One of those. Alright, so here we have it. Now I've gotten most of the Mod Podge off my fingertips. So here's our first one. And as you can see, it's not super easy to get it to do what you want. I mean, you can make it do it. So basically I just kind of wrapped it around and then I squished it and formed it so that it keeps this nice shape that I want out of it. And so we're going to do that with this one as well. All right, so I've got the book page on there. It's more or less dry now. So probably the thing that was the most irritating was I kept having to stop, and you know how you get the glue on your fingertips, you have to kind of peel it off because it was making my hands extra sticky. So as I'm trying to do this, it's trying to come off, it's trying to take that off. So that was annoying, but other than that, I think it went pretty good. And then what I did with this one here, if you remember the actual wire piece, this one here is a bit longer than this one. I just went ahead and wrapped some paper down so they're a little bit more even now. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to attach to some book page. So I think I'm going to start with the Irish Gaelic book page, and then probably go in half. Yeah. And we'll do one here and one like here. And this has like some where somebody wrote on it. So what I'm going to do is, so for this, I'm going to glue it here because I actually want this to be facing out. And same thing with this here, I'm actually going to glue it here. And so with this, I'm going to make sure my stuff's pretty straight. And see what's on the other side. It should be good if I go up towards the top. I'm going to leave a little bit extra because I think once I glue this down and once it's dried, you know, I'm going to cut around it a bit. And I'm going to cut a bit like this so that it can kind of wrap around on the top. So we'll see how that works. And then with this, same kind of thing, except it's going to be at the bottom. Okay, so I am going to use, actually I'm going to use my big bottle. I'm just going to use PVA glue just to glue this down. We will be using Mod Podge on it in a minute, but right now I kind of want to use this, and I'm putting a nice generous amount of it too, just because this is gonna, you know, try to not lay completely flat, but we definitely want this attached real good. So okay, we'll put this up here like so and press it down and give it a minute. And actually let's get the glue off my hands here, and I'm just going to kind of press it from the other side. Maybe we'll lay it like this for it to dry. That'd probably be a good idea. I think, maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. This is just an experiment here. I've never done this before, so it might work, it might not work. I don't know. We'll find out. Same with this side. And of course, you know, I just had to put glue all over my finger too. Well, is that it? Why not? Okay. Same here, and we're going to go this way here. Cap on there. Okay. Press it down and then press it this way, down on those ridges. Actually, yeah, I should probably press down real good because we're going to want this paper to kind of go between them a bit, yeah? So maybe do it so it kind of comes up a little bit on each one. Okay. I'll let that sit there and dry. Do the same thing with this. Let that dry, and then once that's dry, I'll come back and we'll cut around and flip it over, and then that'll really give us an idea of how we want to do the other side as well, because we'll have one front and one back, and I'm doing it this way to make sure that, you know, whatever's on the front of this one, I want to be on the front of that one, etc., etc. So, all right, I will join you guys in a little while when this is dry. Now, these have had time to dry, and they are stuck on there real good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of trim around sort of in the vague shape of them on the bottom. And then on the top, we're going to leave a little bit more room because I think I want to kind of wrap them around sort of my plan. She says that she almost doesn't leave room for it. Seriously. All right. That should be good. All right. So there's one. We'll do the other one. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and cut little notches into these because I want to take these and I want to glue these over so that it's covering the top of it. So it's a lot more finished, and that this stuff's not necessarily going to show through. So I'm just going to kind of push them all that way. And I think I will do this with just the regular glue because I'm not sure. I do want to add some color to these, but I don't know if I want to do it before Mod Podge is put on there or after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue these, and then while those dry, I'm going to test out a couple things on the paper that's left over here before we do the other side to kind of see which way is going to work the best. So I'm just putting regular PVC glue on these little basically tabs now, and I am wrapping them over and gluing them down very carefully. I'm afraid I'm going to stick my finger through the other side. I'm like, no, why? Okay, so I will do that to both of these, and I'll show you at the end, so you don't have to listen to me talk about gluing, because how thrilling would that be, right? Alright, so there we go. Bring that up a little bit closer so you can see. So I've just kind of pulled these over, and on that top one I cut a couple extra ones for this bit that sticks up here to try to kind of contour it a little bit. But here we are from the front, which looks pretty cool. Or it could end up being the back. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to experiment with a couple things, and I'll come back and we'll either start messing around with the color of these, or we're going to go ahead and do the back side and Mod Podge them. So we shall see. So what I have done is this. I have taken the Lindy's mica stuff again, and I have put it on the paper without any kind of Mod Podge and with. And I can already tell you I like it better without the Mod Podge on it. So since this is going to take a while to dry again, what we're going to do is we're going to set this off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to glue this side to this side. So now when we do this one, we're going to have to not only put regular glue here, but we're going to have to put something between these to press those wings together as well. So for that we will use Mod Podge, but I'm going to be very careful to not get it, you know, outside of these edges. So we can push the paper together. Hopefully that will kind of give it some more contour between those wings as well. And then once it dries, again, we'll trim it and we'll glue it the same way we did this way, so that it's covering just this top part. But maybe see if we can do it where, well, we can have one side or the other be the front, so it's not a big deal. But we'll try to do it nice and neat where it just comes over to the very top, so that way we'll have more options for choice. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. So I've got my Mod Podge out, and I'm going to have my glue ready, and I'm going to have my paper ready. So this one I want to get this side because I really like that. On which one did I want it on? So if I put it there, so it needs to be on this one here. Okay, so I'll put that like that. And then this one, I want to get the block of text there. So I will put it down like so. All right. Get everything ready, because that'll be the tricky part. Actually, you know, this stuff takes a bit longer to dry than the Mod Podge does. So we'll go ahead and put regular tacky glue all along the ribs of this, just like we did the last time. And then we can take our brush And then we can put some Mod Podge on the paper here, so that way that other paper's got something to stick to. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not, but you know, at least it'll give it a chance to stick down. And then we can go in there with the paintbrush and get up under there and stick down whatever didn't stick down correctly, as I get Mod Podge and a brush just everywhere. All right, so there we go. I press that down, and now I'm going to press in between. I'm going to start like at the center. I'm going to press in between these so that these are getting nice and flush together. And maybe that'll start giving us some of that contour in there, which we'll, you know, we'll see it when we go to put the paint and everything on there. So just get these down as best I can. We have to go back in there with a little bit of it, but there we go. You can really kind of see it on that side, huh? That might end up being our front. And then once we put the paint or, you know, mica spray stuff or whatever we do to this, there will be a liquid component to it. So that will also help us to kind of get these, you know, the wing section front and the back to kind of conform a little bit more to the shape of the armature underneath. So, all right, so I'm going to set this off to dry. This should be good. Does anybody else need any glue? I think a little tiny bit. Kind of pull that back, add a bit under here, just trying to keep it from going onto the front of the paper so that it won't interfere with the mica stuff. Okay, that looks good. All right, so I'm going to do this one too, and then I will let these dry, and I will come back to you when they're dry. And then this stuff here should be dry, so we can see how it's really going to look after we put it on there. And yeah, then our wings will be progressing quite nicely, actually. Okay, so I think these have dried okay enough. So what I did is I just trimmed around where I had originally cut on the first side, and I left the same kind of gap at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing where I cut this and then fold it over. And if anything, we can maybe hide it with some of the gilding wax or something if it's super noticeable, but I don't think it's going to be based on how these are looking. So these are the ones that were done on just the regular book page, and as you can see, it really sucks that pigment in much better than it did over the Mod Podge. See how it's got kind of all that white? That looks kind of crappy. So we're going to do it on the raw book page, basically. So we need to make sure we keep as much glue off of the pages as we can. So that's why I'm going to do this the same way we did the other ones. And then we will let that dry a tiny bit, won't need too much. And then we can come through and we can paint. And I'm thinking of doing the gold first because I really like the gold on here. So we'll do the gold, and then maybe we'll take some of the bronze and the teal and do sort of some accents. And then I have my distress ink out so that when it's nice and dry, we can go over the edges, and it's almost like dry brushing, but with the ink to really highlight and accentuate the ribs on the wings. And hopefully they'll come out cool. So if not, that's a heck of a lot of work for nothing. So I will fast forward and see you guys when I'm done gluing the stuff down. So what we're going to be using on this, if you hadn't remembered them from before, it's the Lindy's Starburst. These are the squirts, so they're in the squirt bottle. Normally these come in a spray, but we have Looney Toony Teal, Poutine Gold, and Maple Syrup Bronze. So these are the Northern Lights Canadian ones. So everything has a Canadian style name, which is very cute. And again, now it's dry, so I'm really liking the shine. I wonder if you can see. Can you see the sparkle on that? There we go. That gives you a little bit of an idea of it. So we are going to do that, and you know, no, it is still coming off a little bit. All right. I was thinking maybe they had sussed out, you know, getting it to stay, having a fixative in it, but I don't think they did. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with a base layer of gold. So this, I think, will be the front of them because I really like that. And I'm not coating these for the same reason why I normally coat things. Normally I'll coat things because you don't want them to necessarily, you know, absorb into your substrate. And this is what happens when you put the Mod Podge on. So if you see, it kind of sits on top. I want it to really color this stuff like this does. So I'm going to put it on just the raw paper. I try to keep as much of the glue off of everything as I can. And you can see here's the back where I folded the stuff over. You really can't tell too much. Probably be able to tell a little bit more once the stuff is on there. But again, we have gilding waxes, we've got distressing, we have a lot of things we can do to kind of cover that up. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to paint these with the gold, and then we'll let that dry, and then I'll come back and paint the back. I'll let that dry. That'll all be on fast forward, of course. And then maybe we'll start doing some highlights with the bronze and the teal kind of in there as well, so that it matches the same kind of colors we have going on in this. Okay, so here we go. So here we have our wings, and they've come out pretty good so far, but I did go ahead and do the front and the back, and I did put the teal on there, and of course they're looking kind of green, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I thought that was teal, and then it dawns on me, well, you know, stupid, gold is yellow, and teal is blue, and what color do you get when you mix yellow and blue? So anyways, the nice thing is that when I put a teal over it, it should become teal now. So I think we're going to try this one here. This is my Dilution Shimmer Spray. This one is Vibrant Turquoise. And holy crap, look at that. That is so pretty, so pretty. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint directly from the bottle. You can take, it's a spray, but I want to actually direct where it's going. Sometimes you can take the little end of that nozzle and do it, but I'm not going to trust that. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of this teal on here and see how it does. Whoa. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. That looks much better. Again, any of the ones that have the mica tend to kind of dry back a little bit lighter. But we're going to do this part, and then I have an idea for the ribs of it as well. I just kind of want to see what these do here. And then when this is dry, I will get the back side of it as well. And that's an awful lot, so we'll dip from this. Whoopsie. Let's put all of it in one place, shall we? It's brilliant. All right. There we go. So that's that part there. Oh, let's get this a little more straight. Yeah, as you can see, that's already starting to dry back a little bit. Doesn't take terribly long. So once we do get to do the ribs, I'm going to use this, I think, which is the P.H. Martin's calligraphy ink. And this is a really pretty gold as well. So we're going to let these dry. And then while these are drying, I'm going to set these up here with this stuff. Right, so we've got mostly done with the wings. So if I was to put the entirety of the wings, it would have been a heck of a lot longer video. So there is another finish that we're going to be doing to them in the next one. So get ready for that. And then we do the skirt as well. We're going to do like a little skirt sort of thing. So I will see you guys in that one. Hey, Mary, see you guys later. Bye.